introduce you a little bit to the people who are working here and doing this together with me. For here in the front of us is Fox Cambot. His real name is Jason Wan, and he's recording this session. So thank you for doing this. Please give him a big hand. Show me that you know how to clap. Yes, thank you. And then on the left of my side in the corner, there's Cindy. Cindy is the moderator of this session, and she's helping us out with the technical stuff. So please give her a big hand for Cindy's from Ghana. Yes, very good. Thank you much. And I'm Dana Maria Vaneke. Now to speaker because of course the most people today. And, but I will first introduce you to this platform and to me. My name is Dana Maria Vaneke. I'm the founder of CaptainVR, and I've been sailing around the world on big traditional sailing vessels, first as a crew member and later as a captain. And now I help people to become the captains of their lives. And I believe virtual reality is the most powerful tool to help me with my mission. And that's why I founded a company called CaptainVR. Wij horen jou, Govert. Sorry, that was kind of Dutch.
He was doing it so quietly too. It was
yes, sorry. You can mute yourself, Govert, if you like. If you're talking to other people, we all have it. Sometimes we and we will not have had it again if later we're gonna mute everybody, so no, we don't hear any background noises. But it's also funny to hear sometimes the background noises of the people. Anyway, the mission of this platform is to build a network of businesses, organizations, and enterprises around the world who are interested in VR coaching and personal development, and provide them an interactive space where they can connect, communicate, and share knowledge to help organizations to create a pleasant working atmosphere in a time-efficient and cost-effective way with healthy, happy, and more effective people. This is the mission of this platform, to build the network. And we always are interested in also having open discussions and also having people to participate and want to be joining forces. So feel free always to, if you want to have participate in this network, please feel free to come to us after the session and we can see how we can work together. So, and for the last but not least, I would like to introduce our guest speaker of today, Todd Lewis. Todd Lewis has been educating small business owners and artists all over the world for the past 20 years in the area of goal setting, time management, motivation, and positive thinking, as well as being an award-winning filmmaker, playwright, music composer, and actor. And we are so honored to have you here every month. Is he going to be here the first week of every month? Because he's such a beautiful speaker and also a very good speaker and funny. And so thank you so much for being here. Please give him a big hand.
Oh, thank you very much. Well, what a wonderful introduction, Dana. I think I owe you $20 for saying all those wonderful things about that's very nice. I want to welcome everybody. Thank you for taking the time out of your day to be here today. It's, you know, we've all got stuff going on in our lives, and the fact that you're taking time to be here today means a lot to me, and I'm going to do my best to make the next 50 or so minutes, maybe just a little bit more with some questions, very valuable for you, which does mean that I'm going to be moving pretty fast. Okay, I'm going to be talking fairly fast. So if there is anything that's not clear or you have any questions, we will leave some times for you to ask some questions. I might leave like 2 different times in the event where you can ask a couple of questions. But I will be moving pretty fast because I have a lot I want to cover today about the business of email response, the business email response system, how you respond to emails in whatever business you're in, to get customers and clients by responding the correct way. That's the important thing. How we respond to emails or even text messages. A lot of what we're going to talk about today will apply to text messages in a way, It will apply to people that are contacting you through social media to a degree, but mostly we're going to focus on email because email is still one of the leading ways that people contact businesses to request more information from them. And no matter what type of business you're in, the difference between a successful business and an unsuccessful one is making sure to have systems in place for every major part of your business. And that includes how you respond to emails that come in from people asking you about your services, your products, what you charge, whatever it is. So, why don't most businesses have a system in place for email responses? First and foremost, a lot of times they don't think that they need it. They think that I'll just kind of handle each of these responses one at a time as they come in. That'll be perfectly fine. But in reality, most of the emails we tend to get, there are similarities in about 80 to 90% of them. People just emailing to say, hey, I saw your webpage. I was wondering what you charge for this, or I was wondering if I could get more information sent to me by email, or whatever it is. There are typical questions that we tend to hear over and over again. So having a system in place is going to help you a lot to take the guesswork out of how you respond to those kinds of questions. The other reasons they don't have a system in place is that they don't think it will work, or they don't know where to start. And I think today is going to hopefully help all of you with that, okay? Whether you don't think you need it, you don't know where to start, or you don't think it will work for you. I promise you, it really will work for you. So first of all, I just want to be really clear what I'm talking about. By email responses, what I mean is these are not emails that you will send out to people like an email blast where they're going to get it and it's going to go in their spam folder. You're not spamming people here. These are responses that you send back to people who email you requesting information about your product or service. So maybe they came to you from your website. They saw some social media post you did, something like that, and they send you an email, okay? So when a prospect emails you asking about your prices or your business, what's the objective of your email back to him or her? What is the objective that you want to achieve? Is it that you want to close a sale? Is it that you want to book an appointment to meet with him or her? Do you want to give her your prices? Do you want to answer her questions? For me, there is always one ultimate goal with the email response that we send back to anybody, regardless of what our product or service is, within reason. And we're going to talk about that in just a second. The objective here is simply to get them to pick up the phone and call you. Okay? Now, there is a caveat here, and I'll get to that in a second here with what's the exception. But first of all, we want to get them to pick up the phone and call us. And why is this the objective? Because we can build such a better relationship with a client or a prospective customer if we can talk with them on the phone, or have one of our business associates who's really good on the phone talk with them on the phone and build that relationship. But I said here, what's the exception? The exception is if you're offering a very, very low priced product or service. If the product or service that you're offering is, say, maybe $20 or less, okay? Maybe even $30 or less. Then your ultimate goal may not be to get them to pick up the phone and call you, because for that small of a price point in your product, you may not want or have the ability to spend a lot of time with people on the phone if your average transaction is only $20 or $30 or 20 or 30 pounds or whatever equivalent currency your clients may be using. But if it's more than $30, and certainly if it's more than $100 or $200, that your average sale for your product or service, then getting them on the phone is important, because it's a big decision for them to hire you or to buy your product if they're investing more money. So they're more likely to do it if they get to build a relationship with you. You've got to get them to take baby steps toward working with you, okay? That's so important. You don't want to ask them to do too much too soon, or you'll turn them off. They'll never come back. If your goal with your email is to say, hey, you should buy this right now, and if you buy it right now, you'll save 50%. Here, click here now, get this now. That can turn people off, right? And they feel like they're getting pressured, that it's trickery, things like that, especially if it's a more expensive product or service. So we want to get them on the phone. And when we know that that's the only goal of our email is to get them on the phone, It makes our job a lot easier with that email response, doesn't it? Because we're not expecting that email to do all of the work. We're not expecting that email to get the entire sale. All right. We just need it to do one tiny thing, and that is get them to pick up the phone and call us, because we know from keeping very close numbers over the last 40 years that it is between 8 and 12 times more effective on the telephone to build rapport than trying to talk with them via email. That means that you are between 8 and 12 times more likely to turn them into a booked client or a sold product if you talk with them on the phone. Now, of course, that does depend on how good you are on the telephone. And Dana, that might be a great subject for one of our upcoming events, is to talk about telephone skills and how to build rapport on the telephone and so forth. That's something that we could talk at length about. Because, yeah, seeing some hands going up, and so, yeah, there's some people that'll be interested in that. But it makes the job of the email that much easier. Now, one thing to keep in mind whenever you're responding to someone by email, and this is a really, really important point, that nearly every purchase that a human being makes over the course of their life, nearly every single purchase, is mostly an emotional investment. Okay? Very few things that we purchase or invest in our lives is a purely logical decision. There's always emotion that's at least at a part of it, or if not the majority of that decision. So that means that if we try to communicate only through words on a screen, we can't build the rapport and the emotion needed to help them decide to hire us. The best possible way we can build that emotion, that rapport, is by at least talking to them if we can't meet with them in person, right? So that's, again, why it's so important to get them on the telephone. It's an emotional decision. And remember that when you're crafting your emails, that your emails should be talking to them on an emotional level. It's a proven waste of time to send out prices and write a unique email to each inquiry. There's a much better way to do it, and you don't need to pay for any software to do this. But if you're crafting a custom email from scratch to respond to every single person who contacts you, then you're spending a lot of time doing something you shouldn't do. You should have a template that is set up. And then you can, at the very least, copy and paste that template, change a couple of little things in that email, and then send it off to somebody so that you're not writing a new one every time. Because, again, we know a lot about our business. If we're good at what we do, we know a lot about our product and service. So oftentimes we know the things that people are wondering about our product or service, and we can include those in the email. And I'll give you some more specifics on exactly how to craft the email in just a minute. Okay. Now, how do you ensure that your email responses are the most effective that they can be every time? I'm going to give you a system for that right here. Okay. If you put this system into place and don't change anything about it that you don't have to change, you will get great results out of this. All right. You want to change as little about the system as possible because it's already been proven to work in multiple different industries throughout the world. And I will tell you, I didn't invent virtually what I'm going to teach today. This is all stuff that I've learned over years applying these things in the business. I've learned from other marketers in all different fields all over the world with people that I've studied with, and then I've applied them all to the business consulting that I do. All right. And it works extraordinarily well. So it's about doing what's proven to work time and time again, and then trusting that it will work for you. And the nice thing is, it's really easy to test this system out. If you just make a point to take what you discover here today and apply it to, say, the next 20 or 30 people that email you and request information about your product or service or your prices, keep track of the numbers and see how many of them end up becoming clients of yours or investing in your product or service. And you'll get an idea right away of how well this really works. Now, the first thing is, if the email doesn't get opened, nothing else matters, right? If it doesn't get open, then what you wrote in that email makes no difference to anyone. This seems so obvious, but are you doing all of the things that you can to make sure that your emails get opened? Well, let's talk about a few of these things and use this as kind of a checklist for the last few emails that you've sent out to people responding to them. Have you utilized some of these features? So here are some keys to getting your emails opened in the first place. And obviously what we mean by opened is they see the subject head in their email browser or in their email program, but until they click on it, they won't see the body of that email. They might see the first couple sentences or something, but that's about it. We want to make sure that they click on it and open that email. So the first and foremost thing is that the subject line or the subject head of that email is paramount. It's vital. If you don't give them a really compelling subject line or subject head, they're not going to care about what you say in your email, or they're going to think that it's just spam, or they're just going to think it's not of interest to them. Okay. So what I mean by a subject head or subject line, that is the thing that they will read when they open up their email browser or their email client, and they'll see who it's from, and here's your subject line, right? We've all seen that before. How you craft your subject line is very important. We'll talk more about crafting the subject line in a minute. Number two is you want to use their first name whenever possible. Still, even this day, when the person's name is in the subject line, it gets their attention more, and they think they feel strongly that this might be for them. So it never hurts to put their first name in the subject line, and I'll give you an example of some of that in a minute. Number three is to make sure to mention the quote, the information you requested. Now remember, this is somebody who has emailed you requesting information about your product or service. Well, because they did that, then in your email response back to them, you want to remind them that they requested this information. That's a great subject line right there, because that reminds them, oh yeah, I did email this person, so that they immediately don't think that it's just spam or somebody that is just cold messaging them, right? So make sure that you mention, that's one great option for a headline is, or a subject line is, Sally, comma, the information you requested. Okay, a great way to go there. Number four is to trail off the end of a sentence. Sometimes in your subject line, it can be really great, because curiosity is a really big thing for the human psychology, right? Curiosity really drives people as a general rule. So if you say something like, Sally, comma, the information you requested about this huge ... Okay, now she's going to wonder, well, what's the huge thing? Oh my gosh, what is that? And she's going to click on it, right? Because she's curious about what the rest of that sentence was. Now, that's just an example off the top of my head. You can come up with some better ones than that, but you can see how that curiosity helps to get it opened. And then number five is every word counts in your subject line or your subject head. The reason for this is we don't really have any way of knowing how many words the person is going to see in your subject line when they look at it. It depends on if they're looking at it on their smartphone, on their mobile device, if they're looking at it on a computer, what they have their settings set at, what they have for their percentage of screen size. All of that stuff is going to be a factor of how much of your subject line they can actually read. So every word counts. And you always want to, here's a point I did not put on the slide up there, and this is a really important one, is you want to put the most important words first in your subject line. That way, they're sure to see them. If they only see 5 words, you want to make sure that those first 5 words are the most important ones. Maybe their name, the information you requested, so that they know that that's what this is about. But then the rest of the words may not be quite as vital if they don't see them, but it'll help them to open it even more. Okay, hopefully that makes sense. So those are some keys to getting that email opened in the first place. But once it's opened, now what do you do? Now there are 2 major things happening when they open the email, or 2 major things that we want to have happen. We want to build rapport and interest in our product or our service. And here's the important part. We are qualifying the client or customer. Now, what I mean by qualifying the potential client or customer is we are getting an indication by what we say in this email and whether they respond back to us and how they respond back to us. We're getting an idea of how serious are they about investing in our product or service. And that's part of what we have to do with our email, is let them know more about what we do, what our service is, what our product is, and qualify them so that they pick up the phone and call us. And so that we don't just get a bunch of people that are just price shopping and looking for the cheapest whatever it is you offer. Because what you offer may not be the cheapest out there, but it might be one of the best. And if so, we have to qualify them and build that relationship and trust so that they realize that what they're looking for may not be the cheapest version. It might be the best version of what they're looking for. Okay? So the first way that you can kind of build the rapport and the trust and start qualifying the client is starting with a great headline. Every marketing campaign that we do should have a headline at the top of it, and that includes your emails, whether you're marketing through direct mail, online with your website, social media, things like that. Whenever possible, you want to have some sort of a headline. And what I mean by a headline, which is different from the subject line, is the headline is whatever is at the top of the email when they open the email. So they read the subject line, they clicked on it, they open it on their computer screen or on their mobile device. And at the top, there will be a headline at the top in larger type that summarizes very, very quickly why they are going to benefit by reading this email. It needs to pull them in immediately. So important, and so many people miss this when they're doing email responses. So let's talk for a moment about how to craft great headlines for your emails, okay? First of all, you want to be inside your client or customer's head. Now, what I mean by that is whenever you're crafting any marketing message, regardless of medium, you want to be thinking, well, what is my target market thinking? What are they wondering? What are they feeling? What are they hoping for? And you use that in your email headline. For example, let's say you're selling life insurance. Okay, you sell life insurance. Well, a great headline might be something along the lines of, if your family means more to you than anything in the world, you want to make sure they're taken good care of even when you can't take care of them anymore. Okay, that's a great emotional headline, right? Somebody who truly cares about their family is going to respond to that and go, yeah, that's exactly what I want. And you're entering the conversation where they are in their mind and what they're feeling. So number two is get them feeling as soon as possible. What I mean by that is you want to keep talking to them on an emotional level. That headline was very emotional. Now, when you start in the copy as well, you're going to be continuing talking emotionally. But the more emotional your headline can be, the more they're going to respond to it. Imagine again the same example of life insurance. Instead of the headline I just did, what if I just said, save 20% on your life insurance? Not as good, right? That's not going to be as powerful as does your family mean more to you than anything in the world? Make sure they're taken good care of even when you can't take care of them. You know, there's no doubt in my mind which of those two types of headlines are going to attract the right kind of target market. And then number three is entice them to keep reading. That same headline example I just gave you, it entices them to keep reading because you really got them on something that is important to them. And they're like, yep, I want to know how to take care of my family even after I'm gone. How are you going to help me do that? Okay. So think of ways that in your business, that your product or service can fit those same three criteria when you're creating your headline in your email. The next step here to making sure that your emails get responded to, that they get opened, that they get read, is that you create a wonderful greeting and salutation. Or you can also use this as your headline. For example, here's a great one. Hi, Jennifer. How great to hear from you, and thanks for your inquiry. Okay? And that's pretty good. Now, I still like the more emotional headlines better. But if you don't use this as a headline, this can be the first sentence of the rest of your email now, right? You greeted her. You said it's great to hear from her. And thanks for your inquiry reminds her again that she inquired about your business, your product, or your service. So create a great greeting and or salutation. And then don't ignore their question. Okay, so here's another big one. Remember, they emailed you and asked you a question. They might have asked, hey, I'm inquiring about your X, Y, or Z, whatever product or service it is you sell, and I want to know how much you charge. Okay, great. Now, here's the thing. You don't want to ignore their question, but you don't want to answer it right away either, and here's why. If they inquire about your product or service, and they say, I just wanted to know how much you charge for what you do, and you send them back and you say, oh yeah, we charge roughly between X dollars and Y dollars or whatever it is, then what are they going to do? They're probably going to just say, okay, I'm shopping around, and they go away, right? They're probably not going to request more information from you unless you are the cheapest version of what you do that's out there. And you don't want to be the cheapest version of what you do. It's really, really hard to make a profit that way. So instead of answering their question directly, what we want to do is we want to use what's called the redirection question. And the redirection question goes like this. For example, if they inquired about your fees or what you charge, the redirection question is worded like this. I'll be happy to discuss our fees. But before I do you mind if I ask you a few questions first so I can get an idea of exactly what you're looking for? Now that's the redirection question, and I word it exactly the same every time I use it. Now you might be thinking, well, Todd, how are you going to ask questions in an email? That's a great question because they emailed us, right? So we're emailing them back. If I say the redirection question, do you mind if I ask you a few questions first so I can get an idea of exactly what you're looking for? How are they going to respond back? Well, they've got two options, right? They can either respond back by another email, or what you're going to do is in this email, you're going to say, and I think we will get to this in a later moment here, is you're going to let them know, hey, rather than doing this by email, why don't we just chat on the phone for a moment, no cost, no obligation, and I can answer any questions you have. Plus, I can tell you the 5 things to look for when choosing the right person to do this, or when the 5 things to look for when choosing the right product. Okay. That's a great route to go because again, our goal is to what? Get them on the telephone, right? So this is a great way to do it is by using the redirection question. The other thing the redirection question does is it lets them know that you genuinely care about what they're looking for, right? That question does that, doesn't it? If you don't mind me asking, if you don't mind, I'd like to ask you a few questions first so I can get an idea of exactly what you're looking for. Virtually no one will ever have a problem with that if you word it that way because they think, oh my gosh, yeah, of course. You need to know exactly what I'm looking for in order to quote a price for something. I'm glad that you genuinely want to know what I'm looking for. So it's an additional great way to build a relationship and build rapport. Another way to make sure that your emails are very, very effective is to include testimonials from thrilled customers or clients in your email. There's nothing more powerful to sell what you do, your product or your service, than by the words that other people say about what you do. And don't be afraid, with permission. Make sure you get their permission. If somebody does give you a wonderful, glowing testimonial, make sure you ask them, hey, do you mind if I use this in some of my marketing or in my email responses? And 9 times out of 10, they will say, oh, no, that's fine. Absolutely. Please feel free to use it. Right? Then including a testimonial is great because without testimonials from thrilled clients, everything that you say about your product or service is just hype. It's kind of fake excitement a lot of the time is how it can be perceived if you're not careful. But when other people say great things about you, the perception is, well, these people are gaining nothing by saying wonderful things about you. They must really have had a great experience with you. It's one of the most read parts of any article or email as well. Most people, when they read an article, either online or in a magazine, wherever magazines are still sold, or in newspapers, one of the first things people tend to look at is the image in that article or that email, and then they'll read the caption underneath it. And in this case, it might be a photograph of your product or service or of your client that said this wonderful thing with the testimonial under it. So it becomes one of the most read parts of your email response. Okay. All right. I know we're moving really fast here. I'm going to break for some questions in a moment, but I've got a couple other key points that I want to make, and then we'll take just a couple of quick questions and we'll continue on. The next thing is to make sure that whatever product or service you're offering, that you have a guarantee of some sort and that you talk about it in your email. Don't hide your guarantee. It's so interesting to me how many people with their product or service, they have a guarantee when I ask them about it, but they don't talk about their guarantee anywhere. It's like they want to hide it because they're afraid people will actually take them up on their guarantee, right? But the whole point of having a guarantee of your product or service is to take all the risk off of your potential client or customer. You want to make their barrier to entry as small as possible. You want to make it as easy as possible for them to make the decision to hire you or invest in your product now. And the single best way you can do that is by offering an ironclad guarantee. It's called risk reversal. And when you offer a guarantee, which I strongly recommend in any product or service that you have, you should be offering a guarantee. And I would ask you this: if you don't offer a guarantee, I would have to ask why you don't. And if the reason you don't is you're worried too many people are going to take you up on it, then you probably are not offering a product or service that is well made or that is complete. If a lot of people are going to refund it, then it's probably not a great product or service, right? So you have to stand behind that product or service. Don't hide your guarantee. Be proud of it. It's a major, unique factor, a major, unique selling proposition of why people will hire you instead of your competitor. Okay, let's see here. All right. Let me finish this one here too. Always talk in terms of you and your in your email. For example, like I said in that headline example I gave before, does your family mean more to you than anything else? Or is your family the most important thing to you in the world? Notice I said your family, you. I'm not talking about me. I didn't say something like, I love selling life insurance because I get to help people. No, they don't care about what you want or need. They really don't. All they care about is how are you going to help me get what I want or need. So throughout your email, you should always be talking in terms of you, your, what's important to you, the reader of that email. Such an important point. They don't care about what you want. It shows that you really care about them. You're talking about them as well. Okay? Really, really important. All right. So I'm going to take a pause here for a moment. And I want to just take a couple of quick questions, Dana, because I am watching the time. But I know I'm talking really fast. We're covering a lot of stuff. And if you're liking this, real quick, just give me some hand claps or some hearts if you're enjoying this so far. If this is really boring, give me a frowny face or something if you can. Can you give a frowny face? Yeah, give me a frowny face if this is boring. I will not take it personally, I promise. But I want to know if you're finding this helpful. All right, I'm seeing hearts. I'm seeing claps. I'm not seeing any frowny faces yet. I don't mind seeing frowny faces. It lets me know maybe I need to do something a little different as we go forward. All right, any questions that we have so far, Dana?
Yes, we have one question from Polygot.
All right.
Can you please tell us what your question is?
Hello.
Yeah, hi.
So currently I'm working on a fundraiser for a nonprofit, and I'm in charge of the email campaign as well.
Mm-hmm.
And so is there, let's see. So how would you tailor what we're learning here to an email campaign asking for donations?
Oh, fantastic!
Other
That's
than selling a project.
Yeah, that's a great question as well. I think thank you for that question. I think a lot of what we're talking about today will also apply in some ways to an email that you're sending out to people that haven't necessarily requested information about your product. They might be on your house list, and they're people who have purchased things before or something like that, and you want to send an email out to get them to, like you said, donate or to be part of a silent auction that you're doing for your charity or whatever it is. And these same principles will work. The subject line is so important, using their first name in it and maybe talking about what it is that you do and appealing to their sense of wanting to give back to the community. Now, I'm not sure what type of a charity you're doing, but if it's a community-based charity, that can be really powerful to talk about the community and so forth. The importance of the headline, the importance of talking emotionally. In this case, you want to apply to their sense of wanting to give back. That's why people donate to charities, right? They donate to charities because they want to feel like they're making a difference in the world. So the more you can appeal to that sense in the emails that you're sending out, the better you're going to do. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that does. Thank you.
You bet. Yeah. So I think you can apply almost everything we've talked about today to that email that you're going to send out to people as well. Any other question, Dana?
Yes, we have more questions. Let me see.
Sure.
Aditya, please feel
hi.
free to talk. Yeah.
Good morning.
Hello.
Oh, can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Yep.
Hi. I'm really enjoying this seminar, and I have a question. Like, I'm in an animation business, and it's a very expensive business to be in. and we get a lot of inquiries from different part of the world, and they ask us, they have a project where they want to do animation, and how much you charge for doing a per second or per minute animation. Then we give them justification, we give them our cost, and the immediate reply what we get is like, oh, our budget is just half of that what you have quoted. Then how to continue this communication after they say that they don't have a budget or it's half whatever we have quoted, and it happens like multiple times, countless
Oh,
times.
sure. That's going to be a very common thing. Great question. Thank you for that question. This stresses again, Aditya, why it is so important to get them off of email and onto the telephone. Because the way you can respond to that question, when they say, "Oh yeah, well, thanks for for letting me know what you charge. Our budget is half of that." It is much easier for you to ask follow-up questions then to get an idea, is price truly going to be the most important determining factor of who they hire to do their animation? So what I might respond to when they say something like that, hey, our budget is half that, I might say, oh, I understand exactly where you're coming from. This is when we're talking to them on the phone. I would say, I understand exactly where you're coming from. Budget is an important concern. If you don't mind me asking, is the budget going to be the number one determining factor of who you choose to do this animation, or is there something else that's also just as important to you? To which they might say, well, budget's important, but our most important thing is we want it to really represent our brand very well, or we really want it to do X or Y. Now you can say, oh, I'm so glad you said that, because one of the things that sets us apart from other animators that are out there is that we specialize in making sure that your brand is well represented and that we utilize all of the psychology that goes into brand identity advertising in the animation that we create for you. And we will guarantee that you will be thrilled, not just satisfied, or we will give you all of your money back. Oh, really? Yeah. So with all that in mind, would you be willing potentially to invest maybe a little bit more than you had originally planned on if you knew that it was going to be guaranteed to do this for you? And there you might just turn somebody that normally in an email, if you just emailed them back and said, well, here are our prices, they might have just gone away. But here you're continuing that conversation. So it's going to be really important to, again, with what you're selling, which is a higher end product, it's something that they have to make a big decision in order to hire you. You want them to make little decisions like picking up the phone and calling you rather than doing this via email. Okay.
Thank you so much. Thank you for
You're very welcome. You're welcome. Thank you. We might have time for one more quick question, Dana, if we have one more.
We don't have yet, but maybe because you're saying this right now, please feel free to ask any question to Todd. Now he's here. You can get some help with your assisting.
You bet. And I will I'll go ahead and continue on with this. And if any more people have questions, go ahead and raise your hand, and we'll do another question session at the end here as soon as we're done. Okay. Fantastic. All right, moving on. Another way to make sure that your email responses are as effective as they can be every time is to be very clear as to why they should pick up the phone and call you now. With the DGO, we just gave a great example of that, right? Here's another example up on the screen there. In fact, let's not try to do this by email. Let's talk on the telephone a moment. It's way faster for you than email. And then the rest of that might be, plus I can answer any questions you have. Or I will give you the 5 things to look for when choosing the perfect animator for your current marketing project or whatever it is, okay? And that lets them know that there's going to be a benefit to them picking up the phone and calling. And I also like to stress that when they call, there's going to be no cost and no obligation when they call. That way it takes some of the pressure off. They don't think you're just going to spend the whole time trying to sell them something. You're going to be building a relationship and answering their questions, okay? So you want to make it very clear of why they should take this off of telephone or off of email and go to the telephone. Here's another key point. Include what's called a curious unknown. Now, I mentioned curiosity earlier, right? That curiosity really fuels people sometimes in reading something or moving forward through a marketing campaign. Here's a great example of what I call a curious unknown. And this can be another great way to get them off of the email and onto the telephone. So let's go back a slide here. Okay, there we go. All right. If you start the sentence with this, in fact, let's not try to do this by email. Let's talk on the telephone a moment. It's way faster and easier for you than email. And This will give you a chance to discover the biggest mistake most people make when choosing an animator for their project. Okay, I'm using Aditya's example here. And you just fill in the blank with whatever product or service it is you offer. Now, you see what that does? Oh, what they're thinking now when they read that curious unknown, they're thinking, oh, wait, what's the biggest mistake most people make? I don't want to make that mistake, right? So they want to know what that is, and they're going to want to pick up the phone and call you to find out what that is. Okay, curious unknown, be sure to use that. Another mistake a lot of people make in their emails is they don't include calls to action. You probably all are aware of what a call to action is, but just in case anyone is not, a call to action is basically taking the next step toward working with you. You've got to let them know, what is that next step? What's the next thing you want them to do when they got this email? Now, in this particular one, it's pick up the phone and call me, right? That's all we wanted to do. So you have to have multiple calls to action in your email. Remind them, hey, just pick up the phone, call me right now. There's no cost, no obligation. Maybe a little bit later, if they keep reading, you say, and again, this is why I would recommend you pick up the phone and call me so we can have a conversation about this. There will be no pressure, no cost, no obligation, but I can answer all of your questions. So make sure you have multiple calls to action in your email. Now, you might be thinking, wow, these emails sound like they're getting pretty long. That's okay. They don't have to be super short emails. We don't want them to be super long for no reason. But if you're talking in a way that is connecting with them, if you're talking about something that's of interest to them, they'll read a little bit of a longer email. That's okay. So don't shy away from having a little bit of a longer email sometimes. Another key point is to make sure that you include at least one more USP, or unique selling proposition, or unique factor. What is it that sets you apart from your competition? Include one other one at least in your email in addition to your guarantee. So for example, by the way, one of the things that separates us from the other animators in our area or in our industry is this. And you state another unique factor. Now, that unique factor does not have to be completely unique. It doesn't have to be something that literally no other person in the industry does. It just has to be something that separates you from most of them, or a lot of them that are out there, okay? Very, very important, because that's why people invest with you, is what sets you apart from others. Otherwise, the only reason they'll invest with you is because you're cheaper than everyone else. And believe me, that is not the number one thing people are looking for 90% of the time. It may be a factor, but it's not usually the dominating factor. Another thing is to include your full name, signature in blue, and a powerful PS or postscript at the end. Now, why have your signature in blue in an email? Well, because depending on your target market, a lot of people remember the days of getting mail, delivered to them in their mailbox, right? And if you got a letter, it was always signed at the bottom in blue, usually, okay, in a blue pen. And so when you do that in your email responses, it gives it more of a personal feel. So your signature can just be a JPEG. It can be a PNG file, whatever it is that you just put in there, but it's blue and it looks like an actual signature. And that actually gets people's attention and makes it feel much more personalized, okay? A postscript at the end after your signature. A lot of studies were done to show that in letters that are delivered to people, whether electronically or in person in the mail, one of the most read parts of that email is the postscript at the bottom. People will scan to the bottom to see who signed it, and then they'll read the postscript and then go back and read the rest of the email. So make sure you have a powerful postscript at the end as well. All right, let's talk for a moment about deliverability, cosmetics, and formatting. Again, I know I'm moving super fast here, but I've got so much I want to cover here. You want to be sure to set up a test email that you can send to in order to make sure that your emails are delivered properly, that they don't go through to spam or the promotions folder in Gmail. So you want to make sure Gmail is the largest used email provider, at least here in the United States. Now, I'm thinking it may be globally now as well, but certainly here in the United States, Gmail is the most used service. Most people have a Gmail account. Not everyone, but I always want to make sure that my emails are getting delivered properly in Gmail, because if they're properly delivered in Gmail, they'll probably be delivered properly to most other people as well. So you want to set up a test Gmail account for yourself that you can send a test of that email to first and see, did it go into spam? Did it go into the promotions folder? Or did it go into the main inbox? You want it to be delivered to the main inbox whenever possible. So that way you can test it, tweak a few things, and make sure that the spam filters don't catch it and consider it to be spam. I could do an entire 5-hour presentation on how to help your emails not get caught by spam filters, but we obviously don't have time to do that here. So you can find more stuff online about that, or maybe that's something we could do in the future going forward as another possible one of our events here. Okay. Options for software that you can use so that you don't have to craft these from scratch every time. If you know that most people are responding with certain questions, you can build these into different software options, most of which are free, at least for a certain number of clients. So if you are going to be, doing these deliveries for, 100 people or 500 people or less, some of these software options have free versions of this that you can use until you get to a certain number of people. MailChimp, iContact, Constant Contact, Aweber, Infusionsoft, and MadMimi are just a few examples of autoresponders. And then all you have to do is go in there, put their name and email address in there when they email you requesting information about your product or service, and it will put them into an autoresponder campaign that will send these emails out to them automatically. And then you don't have to do virtually any work. It's super simple, okay? Now, here's another thing with deliverability and so forth. You have to know whether what you're doing is effective or not. Now, this is a huge mistake that I see most people make in businesses, is they don't keep track of what they do so that they can tell whether what they're doing is working or not. They may keep track of sales. They may keep track of how many people bought this product and what was the average sale, but they don't tend to keep track of, hey, how many email inquiries have we gotten in the last month about our product or service? And how many of those got turned into a product sale or a customer or a client? How many actually bought with us? So you want to make sure that you are keeping your numbers and paying close attention to them. If you don't know how it's doing, how can you know whether to change it or keep doing it? Okay, so whatever system you use for it, whoops, oh, I just fell off the stage. Oh no. Wow, I'm so excited. I just had to come down and talk to all of you like this. There we go. Okay, I meant to do that. If you don't know how well you're doing, how do you know whether you should keep doing it or not, right? So make sure that you keep some sort of system in place for keeping track of how your email responses are doing. All right, perfect. We have time for some more questions, and I'm guessing there might be quite a few because I know I was covering things very quickly here. I'm going to open it up to you for questions. But before I do that, I just want to mention, for 5 of you here today, if you would like, we can set up a time for completely free. There's no cost at all to do this, for a one-on-one business analysis and strategy consultation with me for 50 minutes. It's a $250 value. I will do this for you, for 5 of you, for free. All you need to do is just send an email to me at toddlewisgr@gmail.com. It should be up there on the screen. Yep, it's up there on the screen for you. Okay. Send me an email and just say you'd like to schedule one of these calls. I will email you back. We'll figure out a time that'll work for both of us, and we'll figure out a way to do it, even if you're outside the continental United States, which a lot of you are. We'll figure out, I've got a way that we can do this without having to, do it over the phone. We can do it on GoToMeeting, Zoom, things like that. So just let me know. Send me that email. The first 5 that send me an email saying you'd like to do this, I will email you back and we'll get something set up. All right. With that, Dana, any questions
That's amazing.
that we have?
Thank you so much for doing that. I really appreciate that. So really good that you can help a lot of people with their questions. So please, people, take it on this offer. It's a once in a lifetime chance.
Yeah,
Anyway.
I don't get to do these very often, but I'm really, really happy when I can. So yeah.
Great. Yeah. So any questions? Or did Todd cover everything?
Yeah, if you have a question, go ahead and raise your hand in Alt space there. Just click the raise hand button, I think, and we'll take questions. And if there aren't any, I've got a couple of last key points I can give you. So.
Yeah, Omni has a question. Omni.
All right.
Hi. So I'm just wondering, is there any way I could get this whole like the whole like the whole set like this everything here that you showcased. If I do that email or send you an email, would you be able to send me this whole
Sure. Yes,
presentation?
you bet. I'll tell
Yeah.
you what, for I'll do that as a bonus as well for anyone that wants to take me up on doing one of those free calls. I'll also send you the slides from this program so that you have those as kind of a keynote. If for some reason you don't feel like you're ready to do a free call with me, and there's no pressure on those calls, you don't have to prepare anything ahead of time. You don't have to know what questions to ask me. I'll know what questions to ask you to be the most helpful to you over the 50 minutes we have. So don't worry about, oh, I'm not sure if I'm ready for that. But if you're not ready to do one of those calls, just send me an email and let me know you'd like the slides from today, and I'll send those to you as a PDF. Okay? No problem.
And we got the recording, Todd.
We've got the recording as well, so you'll be able to, go on to Dana's page. You'll be able to check out the recording of this, and you can rewatch it as well.
All right, thanks a lot.
You're very welcome. My pleasure. Any other questions? And again, I really appreciate all of you being here and being so attentive. I can't believe how fast the 50 minutes went that we had together.
Yeah, it really goes fine because it's a good energy also. Please, then, if there's no questions left, it doesn't matter. Maybe there comes more questions after we made a picture, because we always like to make a selfie. So can you please come all on the stage and
come
stand
up on the
next to
stage.
us,
Yeah, come join us.
close to us. And then someone needs to make a picture. Cindy, can you make the picture? Sorry, Jason is filming.
That's right. Yeah, come on up and get real kind of close together, as close as you can without warping each other out or whatever. Get as tight and close together as you can. We'll get a group photograph.
Yeah,
beautiful.
Group photograph and give some love.
Love.
And make some emojis.
Yeah, make sure your face. You make sure you can see Cindy. As long as you can see Cindy, she should be able to see you in the photograph.
And also make selfies, because it's also nice to make a selfie. You see some people very close to you. I have Todd in a picture as well. Really nice, really good. Yeah, really. You look really like you're making a photograph, Todd. Todd, you're really standing for it.
Nice. I'm posing.
Yeah, you posing. Yes, that was the word I was looking for. Right.
Nice. I love it.
So there's some people. Do you want to still come in the picture, Datu? You can be in the picture as well. We're making
Datu
pictures.
and WDS, if you want to come down on the stage, you can be part of our
come
photograph.
down on the stage, make a picture with us, and then we have a few minutes to. Yeah, Cindy. Oh yeah, good, Cindy. Wait.
There we go.
A little bit closer, it's better. And give us some love and smileys and say cheese and
cheese.
Pose.
Yay! Love
Make
it.
a big smile.
Love
nice. Okay, so please, people, feel free to stick a little bit around. And like Todd said, please feel free to send him a message and take him up on his coaching. I would do it. I'm gonna be one of the 5, Todd.
I love it. I love it.
And then stick a little bit around until we all, till you feel that you have to go. If you want to go, you can go. Please give a big hand to Cindy and Todd also, and Jason to be
thank
such
you, Jason.
a good
Yes, and thank you, Dana, as well. Big hand for Dana.
Yeah, thank you so much. It was a great event.
Yeah, thank you, everyone. I'll stick around. I can stick around for maybe 3 or 4 minutes or so if there are any additional questions or anything. But I want to, again, thank everyone for taking the time to be here. Remember, the first Thursday of every month at this same time, I will be joining Dana here to present another program, which I'm really excited about. We already talked about maybe doing one on the telephone and how to be really good on the telephone to build rapport and stuff like that. We got lots of things we can cover. Cool.
Yes, and it's good to know, maybe for the people, you are focusing now a little bit more on stress, on sales and commercial coaching, but we also do stress management, time management, and personal development. sessions.
Yeah, and if
So-
any of you have a subject in particular that you feel you would love to have us cover on one of these programs, please feel free to, I don't know, email me, email Dana,
Yeah.
message Dana, however you can get in contact, and let us know, hey, here's a subject I think people would be interested in, and we're certainly open to those ideas as well.
Employee motivation.
Employee motivation? Oh yeah. Oh, that's a great one. Let's remember that one, Dana. Yeah, managing of a
employee
team
motivation,
and
yeah.
motivating them and making sure that they're energized and doing things well. How do we do that? That's a great point. I love that one.
Thank you.
Yeah, good choice.
Yep.
Yes,
Good.
thank you for your input also, because there was a lot of good questions.
A lot of great
Not a
questions.
lot,
Yeah.
but good questions. Very good.
Yep. Very good. Each one of those questions could have been an entire event. Just they're
exactly.
really great. All right. Well, thank you again.
Okay.
Oh, yep. Did we
Thank
have a question
you.
over here?
Go for
I want to
it.
say,
We
you
were
said
here.
you made
Is
some
that-
movies.
Bye-bye.
Yes.
Can you name some of those movies?
Bye bye.
Yes, I've mostly what
Bye-bye.
I've made for myself is I've made a couple
Bye-bye.
of short films that won a
Bye-bye.
couple of awards
Oh,
at
that was
some
COVID,
film
hè? Ja.
festivals.
Ja,
One is called
doei.
Low End, which is
Bye-bye.
not
Welcome
available to view online as of yet.
Morgen.
Another one is called The Rotation, which you can find on YouTube if you type in The Rotation Todd Lewis. I think if you type that in, it will come up. And it's a short film that I made. And then I've been a cinematographer on a couple of feature-length films that were made by other directors.
Nice.
Can you check
Yeah.
that if you send anyone to email, they are seen or not? Can we check that?
If you email me, absolutely, yes.
No. I am asking that if I send you email, if you seen or not, I can check it.
Ik wilde uitzoeken.
If you can check.
He's asking. He's
oh, yeah.
asking if you can check your email. Because
Oh,
he says-
sure.
No?
I
No?
can't
Did
check
you
it
not
right
say
at the
that?
moment. Oh, okay.
Oh, I thought you were saying that. Did you not say that?
Yeah, sorry, we
We don't
didn't
hear
quite
you
understand
anymore.
what your
We don't-
question was.
no.
Yes, Juan.
Yes,
I am
yes,
messaging.
Hans.
I am messaging.
Oh, yep, I didn't quite.
Yeah.
Did you send us an email?
think you've gone.
Yes, Juan?
Yeah,
you
I
hear?
think maybe.
Yeah, okay, great. All right, well, again, I want to thank everyone for being here. I wish I could stick around a little bit longer, but I've got to head into another meeting here in about 15 minutes. But I appreciate all of your time. Thank you so much, and have a great
you.
rest of your day, great rest of your week. Stay safe and healthy first and foremost.
For sure. Thank you so much for being here. See you next
Thanks.
time.
You
See
got
you
it. Thank
soon.
you. Bye-bye.